7 subtle signs you're the toxic woman, and Stoic ways to respond. Life is too precious to spend it trapped in relationships that chip away at your peace and drain your emotional energy. But sometimes, toxicity hides behind charm, beauty, or subtle behaviors we tend to overlook. If you ever felt uneasy, confused, or emotionally drained by someone close, this guide is for you. Drawing from profound wisdom of Stoicism, you'll discover how to clearly recognize toxic traits in women and how to respond with strength, clarity, and calm confidence. It's not about blame. It's about protecting your peace and choosing wisely who deserve your time and energy. 1. Perpetual victimhood. One of the most subtle yet deeply damaging traits of a toxic woman is perpetual victimhood. This is the person who constantly portrays herself as unfairly targeted or misunderstood by everyone around her. At first glance, she might seem genuinely unfortunate, deserving empathy and support. She often speaks of past betrayals, manipulative ex-partners, unjust treatment at work, or ongoing family drama. Initially, you feel compelled to step in, to protect and support her, believing you can offer her the care and understanding she never had. However, over time, you'll notice a pattern. Regardless of who is involved, from lifelong friends and coworkers to family members, the narrative remains consistent. She's always the victim. Accountability or responsibility rarely feature in her stories, and she skillfully deflects any suggestion that she might have played a role in these scenarios. Her repeated tales of victimhood become more than personal grievances. They become a tool for control. Before long, you find yourself emotionally invested, feeling obligated to rescue her from the injustices she describes, even when these crises are self-created. Stoicism offers powerful insights on handling such situations. The Stoics teach us that we have control over our own thoughts, beliefs, and reactions, but never over another person's actions or choices. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By internalizing this principle, you can respond calmly and rationally, rather than being emotionally manipulated or pulled into the constant cycle of victimhood. When faced with perpetual victimhood, first recognize it clearly for what it is, a deliberate strategy, often unconscious, to avoid accountability and to maintain control through eliciting sympathy. Offer genuine compassion, but draw firm boundaries. Resist the temptation to fix her issues or shoulder her emotional burdens. Instead, encourage accountability and personal responsibility. If she continually refuses to acknowledge her own role in her difficulties, it's critical to step back to preserve your emotional peace. Ultimately, Stoicism reminds us that peace and strength come from within, from our ability to maintain clarity in the face of emotional manipulation. Choose to be compassionate yet firm, supportive yet clear-headed. Recognize the subtle manipulation of perpetual victimhood, and do not sacrifice your well-being for someone unwilling to grow. Protecting your inner peace requires the courage to see clearly, act decisively, and remain emotionally grounded, even when faced with the most skillful of emotional manipulators. 2. Drama addiction. Another hallmark trait of a toxic woman is her addiction to drama. This isn't about occasional emotional expression or genuine conflict, but rather a constant craving for emotional intensity and upheaval. If you've ever felt like your relationship is one dramatic episode after another, with calm periods quickly followed by unnecessary arguments or exaggerated emotional reactions, you may be dealing with someone who thrives on drama. At first, drama addiction may appear as passion or emotional depth. It might even seem exciting or invigorating, pulling you into an engaging whirlwind that feels compelling and alive. However, the reality soon becomes exhausting. You find yourself continuously walking on eggshells, unsure what minor incident might trigger the next explosive conflict or dramatic breakdown. It's as if tranquility itself is threatening to her, prompting her to create or magnify situations to reignite emotional intensity. This constant drama isn't accidental. It's a deeply rooted need for attention and control. By repeatedly pulling others into her emotional chaos, she secures attention and reinforces her perceived importance. Yet, it comes at the cost of your peace, your clarity, and ultimately your own emotional stability. You may begin questioning your judgments, second-guessing simple actions, and experiencing anxiety over normal interactions. Stoicism provides powerful tools for responding to drama addiction. Central to Stoic thought is the teaching of Epictetus. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond. Understanding that drama often seeks emotional reactions, your strength lies in controlling your responses. Instead of engaging emotionally or attempting to resolve irrational conflicts, step back and calmly observe. Detach from your drama by choosing reason over reaction, clarity over confusion. When confronted by drama addiction, refuse to participate actively. Don't feed the emotional turmoil by arguing or becoming defensive. Instead, respond with calm detachment, setting clear boundaries for acceptable behavior. Make it known gently but firmly that emotional theatrics won't manipulate your responses or dictate your actions. Over time, by consistently maintaining emotional clarity and refusing engagement, you'll either prompt healthier communication or clearly see the necessity to protect your well-being by distancing yourself. Ultimately, Stoicism reminds us that true peace comes from within, and emotional mastery involves responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Protect your inner calm by recognizing drama addiction early and responding with grounded wisdom, clarity, and intentional detachment. 3. Manipulation through guilt. Manipulation through guilt is one of the most emotionally exhausting forms of toxicity because it attacks subtly, leaving you feeling constantly unsettled and unsure of yourself. At first glance, this behavior can seem entirely harmless. Perhaps it manifests as quiet disappointment, gentle sighs, or subtle expressions of hurt feelings. On the surface, these might appear as innocent gestures, signaling emotional sensitivity. Yet, beneath this veneer lies a sophisticated and emotionally manipulative strategy designed to erode your confidence, control your decisions, and ultimately reshape your behavior. This form of manipulation preys on your natural desire to make your partner happy, playing on the fundamental human fear of rejection or abandonment. As a result, you may start compromising your boundaries and values in small yet significant ways. Perhaps you abandon your hobbies, reduce your interactions with friends, or hesitate to pursue career opportunities, all to avoid the nagging sensation of guilt that follows whenever you assert your own needs. Before long, this pattern becomes your new normal, and you find yourself trapped in a cycle of appeasement and emotional fatigue. Stoicism, with its emphasis on clear thinking and emotional self-control, offers powerful insights to counteract this emotional manipulation. Epictetus famously said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Understanding this wisdom empowers you to recognize guilt manipulation for what it truly is, an external force attempting to override your internal compass. By embracing Stoicism, you remind yourself that your worth isn't determined by how someone else reacts to your legitimate decisions or boundaries. Implementing Stoic wisdom in this situation means drawing clear, firm lines around your emotional space. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. Rather, it's about staying authentic and grounded. When faced with subtle guilt manipulation, respond calmly yet directly. Clarify your boundaries without excessive justification or defensiveness. Reinforce your right to personal space, independent decisions, and authentic emotional responses without fear of reprisal or emotional blackmail. Over time, consistently practicing these Stoic responses will restore your confidence and emotional strength. You will begin to see guilt manipulation clearly, no longer distorted by emotional confusion or misplaced self-blame. It becomes easier to maintain healthy relationships built on genuine respect and emotional maturity rather than guilt-driven compliance. Ultimately, Stoicism guides you toward emotional independence and clarity, reminding you that authentic relationships thrive on mutual respect and clear boundaries, not emotional coercion disguised as sensitivity. By setting boundaries with compassion but firmness, you regain control over your emotional landscape, preserving your dignity and peace of mind. Remember, true harmony in relationships comes not from appeasing guilt, but from mutual understanding, honesty, and respect. 4. Lack of genuine empathy. One of the most painful realizations in a relationship can be discovering that your partner lacks genuine empathy. Empathy isn't merely sympathy. It is a profound ability to truly feel and understand another person's emotions and struggles. When your partner repeatedly demonstrates superficial concern or brushes off your deepest feelings, you begin to feel emotionally isolated, even when she's physically present. At first, you might rationalize her behavior, assuming she's distracted or simply not adept at expressing herself emotionally. However, as time passes, it becomes clear it's not an occasional lapse. It's a persistent absence of genuine emotional connection. Imagine coming home after a particularly stressful day, desperately needing support and understanding. Instead of comforting words or a reassuring presence, you're met with an indifferent nod, a dismissive comment, or worse, a shift in conversation toward her own trivial concerns. These moments build upon each other, subtly eroding trust and deepening your sense of loneliness. The partner you once believed was your emotional anchor has become emotionally unavailable and distant when you need her most. This type of emotional neglect isn't merely frustrating, it's damaging. It can lead to feelings of worthlessness, self-doubt, and deep emotional pain, making you question your own needs and validity. You might find yourself trying even harder to earn her empathy, believing that perhaps you're the one at fault or simply too sensitive. However, it's vital to understand this. Genuine empathy is not something you should earn or beg for. It should naturally flourish in a healthy relationship. Stoicism provides invaluable insight here. Marcus Aurelius wisely counseled, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In other words, do not allow her emotional shortcomings to dictate your inner emotional landscape. Recognize and accept the reality of her limitations without internalizing them as your failures. Her inability to empathize is a reflection of her own emotional deficits, not your inadequacies. Responding stoically means acknowledging this painful truth calmly and clearly. Accepting this reality can free you from trying to change her or desperately seeking validation. Instead, seek relationships and connections that offer the emotional support you genuinely deserve. Stoicism encourages emotional clarity and resilience. It teaches us that our emotional well-being is our own responsibility. In a healthy relationship, genuine empathy flows naturally, effortlessly bridging emotional gaps during challenging times. If empathy consistently remains absent, consider it a clear signal that emotional intimacy is unlikely to develop. Protect your emotional well-being by setting clear boundaries and understanding that emotional reciprocity is fundamental to a nurturing and fulfilling partnership. Life is too short and too valuable to invest emotional energy where it cannot be meaningfully reciprocated. 5. Obsession with appearances. At first glance, her obsession with appearances might seem harmless or even endearing. She carefully curates every aspect of her life, from her wardrobe and appearance to social media posts, seeking constant validation through external praise. Initially, this behavior might feel glamorous, exciting, and even motivating, making you believe that you're part of a shared journey toward success and admiration. However, beneath the glossy surface, you'll soon find a troubling reality, an unquenchable thirst for validation that overshadows everything else, including genuine connection and emotional intimacy. In a relationship dominated by appearances, your worth gradually becomes tied to superficial standards. Rather than appreciating your authentic qualities, she'll often measure you by material success, your social status, or the way you enhance her public image. Over time, you may notice yourself feeling increasingly pressured to keep up with her escalating demands. The sincere gestures of love and emotional support that typically strengthen bonds begin to lose significance, replaced by the constant pursuit of external affirmation. This dynamic becomes emotionally exhausting as you realize there's no end to the cycle. Each accomplishment or purchase quickly loses its shine, prompting her to chase the next superficial goal. Whether an extravagant vacation, designer clothing, or a prestigious social event, the relentless pursuit leaves you feeling perpetually inadequate, drained, and undervalued. You find yourself wondering if she'll ever truly see you for who you are, rather than what you can offer to her outward image. Stoicism provides a powerful perspective to break free from this superficial trap. Epictetus taught, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This profound wisdom reminds us that true happiness and fulfillment come from within, not from external validation. The Stoic approach encourages you to ground your self-worth firmly in your internal values and virtues, rather than in the shifting sands of external approval. By adopting this mindset, you reclaim emotional independence and clarity. Recognize that your value as a person is defined by your character, integrity, and authentic relationships, not by superficial symbols of success. Respond calmly but assertively to her demands, emphasizing genuine connection over appearances. When superficiality dominates the relationship, maintain clear boundaries and communicate honestly about your need for depth, authenticity, and emotional reciprocity. Ultimately, true emotional satisfaction and lasting happiness cannot thrive in a relationship overshadowed by superficial obsessions. Stoicism urges you to prioritize your inner peace and genuine emotional connections over fleeting external validation. Remember, a life of authenticity and depth far outweighs the shallow comfort of temporary admiration. Choose clarity, genuine connection, and emotional integrity. These are the foundations of lasting peace and fulfillment. 6. Refusal to admit mistakes. One of the clearest signs of emotional toxicity in a relationship is a consistent refusal to admit mistakes. This behavior is often masked as strength or confidence, but beneath the surface lies a deep insecurity and fear of vulnerability. At first, her refusal to apologize or acknowledge fault may seem minor or easily overlooked. Perhaps it manifests as stubbornness, pride, or simply a strong personality. Yet, over time, you begin to notice a troubling pattern. Disagreements escalate unnecessarily. Simple misunderstandings become prolonged conflicts, and issues remain unresolved because admitting fault feels impossible to her. Imagine a scenario where you've clearly articulated your feelings, explained your perspective, and even provided evidence supporting your point of view. Instead of genuine reflection or sincere acknowledgement of wrongdoing, you're met with defensiveness, denial, and even blame shifting. Rather than addressing the actual problem, she might redirect the conversation toward your perceived faults, creating confusion and frustration. This constant evasion of responsibility leaves you emotionally exhausted, isolated, and doubting your own experiences and perceptions. The emotional cost of such a dynamic is severe. Relationships thrive on mutual understanding, trust, and respect. Qualities impossible to sustain when accountability is consistently avoided. Over time, the lack of accountability undermines your emotional security, creating resentment and emotional distance. You may start to question yourself, wondering if you're overly sensitive or expecting too much. The truth, however, is simpler yet harder to confront. Accountability is essential in healthy relationships. Stoicism provides clear guidance for navigating this emotionally challenging landscape. Marcus Aurelius powerfully advises, "If someone can show me my error, gladly will I change, for I seek the truth by which no one was ever truly harmed." Embracing Stoicism means prioritizing truth, humility, and emotional maturity, recognizing that admitting mistakes is a sign of strength rather than weakness. A relationship built on mutual accountability fosters growth, intimacy, and genuine respect. A Stoic approach involves staying emotionally grounded and rational in the face of defensiveness and denial. Clearly and calmly assert your viewpoint without engaging in emotional battles. Set firm emotional boundaries, emphasizing the importance of mutual respect, genuine dialogue, and accountability. If these boundaries continue to be ignored or minimized, it becomes necessary to reassess the relationship clearly and courageously. Ultimately, your emotional well-being and peace depend upon relationships founded on honesty, humility, and emotional accountability. Choose partners who value these principles and demonstrate them consistently. Remember, real emotional strength lies not in never admitting mistakes, but in openly acknowledging them and using them as opportunities for growth and deeper connection. Protect your emotional health by valuing authenticity, vulnerability, and genuine accountability, qualities that form the cornerstone of any meaningful, fulfilling relationship. 7. Consistent disrespect of your time. Time is the most precious resource any of us possess, something you can never reclaim once lost. One of the subtle yet profoundly damaging signs of toxicity in a relationship is a consistent disrespect of your time. Initially, this behavior might seem like mere forgetfulness, casual tardiness, or innocent miscommunication. Maybe she's consistently late, frequently cancels at the last minute, or simply seems indifferent to the commitments you've made together. Early in the relationship, you might rationalize this behavior, believing it to be trivial, a minor inconvenience that's part of adapting to each other's habits. However, As the pattern continues, its true nature becomes clear. It's an expression of profound disrespect and a blatant disregard for your priorities and boundaries. Every instant she keeps you waiting or cancels plans without adequate reason sends a subtle yet powerful message. Your time isn't valuable, your plans are important, and ultimately, you are not a priority in her life. Over time, these seemingly small gestures become increasingly hurtful, leaving you feeling undervalued, disrespected, and emotionally drained. You may even start doubting your own perceptions, convincing yourself that perhaps you're overreacting or being too sensitive. You might find yourself adjusting your expectations downward, compromising your self-worth in a misguided attempt to maintain harmony. Yet, deep down, a quiet resentment grows as the imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. You begin questioning your worth, wondering why your time and efforts are continually overlooked or minimized. Stoicism provides powerful insights into handling this emotionally draining situation. Seneca wisely noted, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." By embracing Stoicism, you come to realize that respecting your time means respecting yourself. You don't have to tolerate behaviors that diminish your worth or compromise your peace of mind. A Stoic response involves setting clear, non-negotiable boundaries around your time and standing firm when those boundaries are violated. Communicate clearly and calmly about the importance of mutual respect for each other's schedules and commitments. If your time continues to be treated as disposable, it's vital to recognize the emotional cost and respond with clarity and self-respect, possibly reassessing the relationship. Ultimately, valuing your time isn't merely about schedules or appointments. It's about honoring your life, your efforts, and your emotional well-being. Relationships built on mutual respect thrive on genuine consideration, clear communication, and reciprocal appreciation. If these elements are consistently missing, recognize it as a clear signal that your emotional and mental health requires a change. Prioritize relationships that respect your time, celebrate your contributions, and honor your presence, for these are connections that genuinely enrich your life. If this message resonates with you, remember you're not alone. Your peace and emotional health matter deeply. Take the first step today by prioritizing your emotional well-being. I'd love to hear your experiences and insights, so please leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more empowering content like this. Together, let's build a community grounded in clarity, authenticity, and mutual respect.